I've told you, I think you're about to make off without payment, and if I don't arrest you, then you will make off without payment. So there's my grounds.
Well, I'm offering to make
Can you
payment.
come out of the car, please,
Yeah,
sir?
sure. No.
In this episode, Auditor Brett is at a Tesco petrol station when staff call the police, claiming he is refusing to pay. In reality, he is attempting to pay with a £100 Royal Mint coin, which is legal tender. A sergeant arrives, is corrected on the law, but instead of reconsidering, he sides with Tesco and wrongfully arrests Brett. That error becomes expensive, as Brett pursues the matter in court, wins a large payout, and leaves the sergeant to face legal consequences.
This is what's going to happen. Okay, so you've done your bit checking on legislation. I've just checked on my legislation. As I said to you, the shop does not have to accept it just because it is legal tender. You said it's legal tender. You are correct. However, it is a commemorative coin. On the internet, they're worth about 20 quid.
Well,
Right, so here is what is going to happen. Either you are going to pay for your fuel correctly, or you are going to fill out their civil recovery form so that you can arrange to make payment at a later date, or I'm going to arrest you for bilking.
what's bilking?
Bilking, making off without payment. You've got to the point where payment is due. You're now refusing to make payment. Therefore, I will treat it as a criminal offence. So how would you wish to proceed at this point?
Well, I have got means to pay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm not going to fill out a civil recovery form as you
Okay,
put it.
right. So what's the means that
What
you're
was the
going to
option
pay?
2?
So option 1
Yeah.
is either you pay. Option 2 is you fill out the form. Option 3 is that you get arrested.
Well, pay.
No, you pay with legal tender that they will accept.
That is legal tender.
No, they don't have,
But if this is a £50 note and he said, oh, look, we don't accept £50 notes because there's lots of forgeries.
Exactly.
Would you be doing exactly the same thing now?
Yes. So
That
if you go into a corner shop and try and pay for a penny chew with a £50 note, they are perfectly within their rights.
The sergeant's initial accusation of bilking does not stand. Under the Theft Act 1978, making off without payment requires 2 conditions: actually leaving the premises and intending to avoid payment. The auditor was still on site, seated in his car, and actively offering payment. When the auditor presents the £100 Royal Mint coin, the sergeant makes matters worse by stating acceptance depends on the retailer. That is not how the law works. Once fuel has been dispensed, a debt exists, and offering legal tender settles it.
But this is different because...
No, it's not different.
No, it is.
You have offered a form of payment that they will not accept. The principle is exactly the same.
Well, if you arrest me, it'll be a wrongful arrest.
Yeah? It's not. It's a lawful arrest because I've explained the situation and I've explained that I believe you're doing this for
Are you a
dishonest
sergeant
reason.
or an officer?
I am a sergeant.
Right.
Okay?
I reckon-
So my point is also that coin is not worth the face value of it. It's not legal tender in such a way that this shop has to accept it as being valued at £100.
Okay, so,
So
it
either
has...
way, you're
Hang on,
way
it has...
short of the mark.
No, I'm not. So, it is got a face value of £100, so it is worth £100.
It's not.
Well, you say that, but the Bank of England, the House of Commons, the state, all the institutions that came before you say it is, right? But you say it isn't, right? Now you say it's only worth whatever you say it was. Interestingly, I don't know if you've looked at the price of silver, but that's probably worth about £48 in silver.
So
Hang on, I haven't finished yet. So that's £48 in silver.
Yeah.
Whereas, how much is a £20 note or a £50 note worth in plastic? What, a penny or 2?
Here, the sergeant's credibility falls apart. When the auditor correctly states the coin has a face value of £100, the sergeant denies it, calling it merely a commemorative coin. That misunderstands the law. A coin issued by the Royal Mint with a stated face value is legal tender, whether it is commemorative or in general circulation. Its status is determined by law, not by the cashier's preference or the officer's opinion. By claiming the coin does not hold its face value, the sergeant displays a complete lack of knowledge regarding currency law. Commemorative or not, the £100 coin is backed by the Crown and the Treasury, meaning it must be accepted for payment of a debt.
Do you want to check to make sure it's not an unlawful arrest?
Another unit, please. This chap's about to be arrested.
Well, it'd be unlawful arrest.
It's not a wrongful arrest.
It would be a wrongful arrest. Well, how can you arrest somebody for refusing to pay when they're offering to pay with a coin of the realm?
Because you're not offering to pay with payment that they can accept or will accept or have to accept. No.
Now, interestingly, you said that you've done some research on this and I've done this before.
Yeah.
Well, what was the outcome of it last time?
It was no further action.
Why was that then?
I don't know.
Well, how come you've got a record of that?
I'm about to let you drive off from here.
Well, how come you got a record that I did it last time, but you haven't got a record of the outcome?
Why? Because I haven't got time to look at that right now.
But you have got time to arrest me and deal with all the paperwork that'll be involved in that.
Yep.
So that's just abusing your power, I think,
No,
because
it's
what you're
not.
trying to do
It's
is
using that power proportionally. These people here are trying to run a business, and you are making life extremely difficult
No,
by
I'm
being
not.
obstructive in how you're going to pay.
No, I'm not.
The sergeant admits he has handled this exact situation before but cannot recall the outcome. This shows he is not learning from experience, only repeating the same heavy-handed approach. Worse still is his refusal to check the details. When pressed, he dismisses it, saying he does not have time to look into the result. Yet moments later he claims he does have time to make an arrest and complete the related paperwork. That is not policing, it is ego. Arrest should be a last resort, based on facts. In this case, the facts were clear. The auditor had not left, had offered payment, and was holding lawful currency.
I'm only here to enforce the law. I'm not here to decide. I just suspect that an offence has taken place. Okay? So I'm not convicting you, and you're refusing, to cooperate with me any further. You're refusing to resolve this situation by giving these people your details. So therefore, you...
No, I don't, because what you're trying to encourage me to do is not to give them my details, but to fill out a legally binding form. You're actually encouraging me to fill out a legally binding form, right? That would be detrimental to me.
Why? Because you have to pay for your fuel just like everybody else
No,
in this petrol station.
No, because you're forcing me not to use cash. It's exactly the same as you...
No, I'm forcing you to provide the legal tender that this business is willing to accept.
But it's not for them to pick and choose.
It is, absolutely.
No, it's not.
If they will only accept payment in Pokemon cards, that is entirely up to them.
Yeah, but they need to state that on the pump, right? When I take the fuel, they say payment only in Pokemon. I'm not trying to. What do you think? What do you think I'm trying to achieve then out of this?
So why are you not willing to offer any other sort of payment? Do you have bank cards on you?
Maybe it's a matter of principle. This is a coin of the realm. You shouldn't be threatening to arrest me because of their preference as to what type of note or coin they accept. That's ridiculous.
The sergeant's attempt to frame this as the auditor trying to pull a fast one is unconvincing. Pulling a fast one means sneaking off without paying, not standing in plain sight, and offering legal tender directly to the cashier. The accusation collapses when you consider the auditor never left the forecourt, never concealed his intent, and openly presented a £100 Royal Mint coin. When the sergeant asks why he does not pay another way, the auditor's reply clarifies the principle. He should not have to adjust his lawful payment simply because the shop or police dislike the method. The law recognizes the coin as valid currency. If retailers can refuse it and police support them with arrest threats, then what qualifies as money becomes a matter of personal preference, not law.
It's not your job, is it, to say what type of coin that Tesco accepts or not?
It's my job to make sure that you don't go past the point of payment without making
Well,
payment.
I haven't driven off, have I? I've got every intention of paying with this coin.
No.
If I had no intention, if I was trying to do something dishonest, I'd driven off, wouldn't I? But the fact is, I've waited here for you to come, and I've discussed it with you. I've tried to explain it, being very civil, and be rude, have I? In any way, I've got no disrespect for the police whatsoever.
No.
Might go downhill a bit if you arrest me unlawfully.
Okay.
I just think, please, just check that it's a lawful arrest. I don't think it is.
I believe it is.
And the whole point of cash and legal tender is that you cannot be successfully prosecuted for non-payment if you've offered legal tender. So, if I had Scottish notes, right, now they're not legal tender in the UK, they're not legal tender full stop, but Tesco...
The auditor correctly states, you cannot be prosecuted for non-payment if you have already offered legal tender. That is the purpose of legal tender. Once offered, the debt is settled, whether the retailer accepts it or not. The offense of making off without payment applies only when someone leaves without paying and intends to avoid it entirely. His comparison with Scottish banknotes is accurate. While technically not legal tender in England, retailers accept them routinely. So how can Tesco accept Scottish notes yet reject an official UK £100 coin that is legal tender? This highlights the inconsistency in the sergeant's stance. The issue was not the auditor's method of payment, but the store's inconsistency, reinforced by poor policing.
An invitation to take the fuel, and I've taken the fuel, and now I've got a debt, and I'm offering to pay the debt in legal tender. Now in the store, it's different, because I haven't taken the food, have I? In fact, if I'd have eaten the food, I'd be obligated to pay for it, and then it'd be the same scenario, just the same as if you went into a restaurant and had a meal, and then you have to pay afterwards, and you offered to pay in that. Right, they can't lawfully have you prosecuted for failure to pay if you've offered a reasonable means of payment and they've refused to accept it.
Yeah, but you've refused to identify yourself to this person.
Well, I don't need to, do I?
I'm now starting to view your actions as being dishonest.
Well, how have I been dishonest?
I suspect an offence is going to
How have I been dishonest?
Because you're refusing to give your information to this gentleman so that...
But he's not entitled to my information, is he?
He is.
Okay, if I told you what my...
Because you have a debt to settle up with him.
This is...
So to go to the restaurant scenario,
yeah.
If you ate your meal and then said, oh, I've forgotten my wallet, I've got no means of paying.
Oh, no means paying.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. So at that point, you're not being dishonest. At the point that you refuse to identify yourself, or you put Mickey Mouse care of Disney World on a piece of paper and say, here's my details, you're then becoming dishonest.
What about if, like, we went to the restaurant, we had a meal, right, and then I pulled out a £50 note and they said, look, we don't accept £50 notes.
Yeah.
They can't make a decision about refusing to accept the £50 notes when you owe them money. They can only refuse to go through with the transaction in the first place. It's only because you've had the goods and you owe a debt that they can't refuse to accept the money.
The auditor's restaurant analogy is powerful because it reduces the issue to common sense. Once goods are received, a business cannot suddenly decide which lawful payments it will accept. It may refuse a £50 note before service, but not after a debt is incurred. The same applies at the petrol station. Fuel was already supplied, and the auditor offered legal tender. That should resolve the matter. The sergeant's failure to recognize this was not a minor error writ, was a fundamental misunderstanding of the law. Legal tender is defined so that once offered, the debt is legally discharged. By siding with Tesco's preference over statute, he transformed a civil non-issue into a criminal matter that did not exist.
So these coins are made by the Royal Mint.
Yeah, and they are legal tender.
And they are legal tender. Yeah. So how can I be refusing to pay and being dishonest in any way when I'm offering to pay with a coin of the realm, a legal
because
tender
you've
coin?
offered a form of payment that they are unable or unwilling to accept. Therefore, as I said, the onus is on you to find alternative means. You've failed to do that.
Okay.
And you are now proposing to leave here without actually giving any means of identification so they can arrange at a later date to make payment with you.
Okay.
So therefore, because of that, I suspect that you are about to commit an offence of making off without payment.
See, now I reckon that if you've offered to pay, and I've offered to pay lots of times, got it on video, and right, and they refuse to accept the payment, I can't see how that I've committed a crime, even if I don't pay.
To provide an alternative means of payment or come to an alternative agreement.
So what you're suggesting is that you're going to arrest me based on the opinion of a Tesco staff member.
No,
whereas another member of staff might have...
based on my suspicion.
Suspicion.
I'm sure with the amount of time this gentleman has spent here, and the fact that other colleagues are aware of the fact that we have been here for half an hour.
Nah, 16 minutes.
I'm sure if he were able to take that coin, he would have done it by now, because he's got plenty of other things to do. You are costing them money by the fact that your car's sat here taking out these two lanes.
I've offered to move it, but he said no.
If they could...
I offered to move it, but he said no.
But if they were willing to take this at any point, they would have done by now.
Now, don't you think, Ben, right, that the country's biggest retailer would have a simple, basic understanding of coins of the realm and the legal tender situation and what they can do and what they can't do?
Well, they clearly do by the fact that they are not obliged to take it just because it's legal tender.
Because he said so. But how do you know he's right? And how do you know that what he's saying is the opinion of Tesco's as a company as a whole?
It's not that he's right, it's that the Bank of England is right, and it's the Bank of England that states that the shopkeepers are not legally obliged to accept any royal tender.
Right, okay, I understand where you're coming from with that, but that's referring to buying something from a store, not to paying a debt.
Okay, it's still the same,
same
situation.
No,
okay.
It's not.
That's fine.
It's actually on Bank of England website what legal tender is.
Yeah, it is. As I said, I have no argument with you about that at all.
The sergeant attempts to sound knowledgeable by quoting the Bank of England, stating shopkeepers are not legally obliged to accept legal tender. Superficially, that is true. The Bank of England notes retailers may choose their accepted payment methods. However, the sergeant misses the context. This rule applies only at the point of sale, before goods are supplied. Once goods are provided, a debt exists, and legal tender settles that debt regardless of the retailer's preference. This is the distinction the auditor clarifies. Paying for fuel is not like purchasing an item from a shelf where the shop may refuse certain coins or notes in advance. The fuel was already in the tank, moving the transaction beyond choice. At that stage, the only relevant question is whether the customer offers valid legal tender to settle the debt.
Okay, so I'm arresting you on suspicion of making off without payment. You do not have to say anything, but it may harm your defence if you do not mention when questioned something on which you later rely on in court. Anything you do say may be given in evidence. Do you understand?
Yep.
Okay, so my intention at this time is to take you to Exeter Police Station, where you will put into custody. The reason for that is for an prompt and effective investigation of the offence and to confirm your identity and your name and address.
Well, I'll be on lawful arrest, won't it?
No, not at all.
Right, where do you want me to park
I
my
have
car
the
then?
suspicion that you're about to commit an offence.
Well, what offence am I committing?
I've told you, I think you're about to make off without payment, and if I don't arrest you, then you will make off without payment. So there's my grounds.
Well, I'm offering to make
Can you
payment.
come out of the car, please?
Yeah,
sir?
sure. No.
Okay.
So no use to use violence, is there?
No, well, step out of the car,
let me
please.
just get my affairs together, all right?
Okay. Do you want to provide your details, or are you going to go to custody?
Well, I'll provide my details for you.
Yeah, but do you want us to provide them to this man here?
No, but you want me to fill out a legal document?
Yeah.
No, I'm not filling out a legal
Okay,
document.
out of the car then, please, sir.
The sergeant's justification for the arrest is unreasonable. He openly acknowledges the auditor has not committed an offense, only that he might in the future. That is not how the law functions. The outcome underscores how incorrect this was. After the arrest, the auditor was taken into custody, interviewed, and treated like a criminal over a payment dispute initiated by Tesco. Instead of yielding to intimidation, he challenged the action and sued. The result was a £5,000 settlement, a figure that speaks clearly to the police mishandling of the case. Such a payout only occurs when the legal position is weak. This episode highlights how policing falters when officers overlook legal basics. The sergeant claimed authority based on speculation, inventing criminal intent when none existed. His refusal to acknowledge the £100 coin as legal tender worsened the situation. Tesco failed in its obligations, yet the auditor was the one detained. That is inverted policing. Adding to the error is the arrogance displayed. The sergeant dismissed challenges, admitted he did not know outcomes from prior cases, and still proceeded, wasting hours on an unnecessary arrest. That is not public protection, it is ego protection. Finally, the £5,000 payout delivers the clearest message. When officers overreach, the law still holds them accountable. The auditor was not only correct, he was fully vindicated. This case should serve as a reminder to every officer. Respect the law you are meant to enforce, or the courts will deliver that lesson one settlement at a time. That concludes today's video. If you enjoyed this episode, please like, comment, and subscribe. Your support helps me continue independent coverage. Show your support. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next video.